What's in it for God that we do mitzvahs, Rabbi Shachat?
What's in it for God that we do mitzvahs? I guess it's the same principle. I mean, I've heard it said, maybe in this forum and other forums, that God needs our mitzvahs and it gives God pleasure and all that kind of stuff.
If there's one sentence that needs to be publicized and shouted from the rooftops to change the world, it's this sentence. The Eibishter himself, in his full essence, desperately needs the mitzvah.
I don't buy into that, because Moses himself says very categorically in the Torah, "Im tzedakta matitin lo," if you do righteousness, what are you doing for him? You're not doing him any favors. V'rabu p'she'echa matasala, and again, if you sin, you think you're really offending him, you can analyze that a little bit on a Hasidic level, but essentially when you do mitzvahs, it's the same principle. Tzavsa, it's about connection to God. You do the mitzvah as a means of bringing yourself closer to God. You need to put on the tefillin, not because God needs you to put on the tefillin, but because you need to, in order to bind your mind and your heart towards divinity. You need to light Shabbat candles so that you come to the appreciation of how you have your greater responsibility of illuminating the outside world. Mitzvahs are more for you and your own soul benefit than they are for God.
Is it heretical to believe, say, or teach that God needs us? Because I've seen classes online that say yes.
Yeah.
Are both opinions valid, or is only one right?
This is the great controversy about Rabbi Manis Friedman, who is extremely popular Chabad speaker. In fact, the advertisement goes, the most popular rabbi on the internet. I feel cheated, but okay. Don't worry, I'm not even near his numbers.
So he would never have missed if he didn't create the world. So why did he do it? Why did he do it? It's a full-time job. It's a lot of people, a lot of problems, a lot of prayers to listen to, a lot of things to take care of and to help. It's not a problem for him. He's outside of time, so it all happens simultaneously and it takes no effort. He's the infinite omnipotent one. But from our perspective, it is more than a full-time job. So why do it? Take the easy way out. He was good. He's Ek Asher Eke. He doesn't need a world with 8 billion people in it. Why do it? Why bother? So the Mekubalim explain, you know why God created the world? Because he wanted, okay, that's a problem already. He's infinite, he doesn't want, but he wanted, needed, it's also a problem, he doesn't need. Although, again, we have certain, my chevra in the Shtibel minion, we have this conversation weekly. Does Hashem have needs or not? They send me Chabad Propaganda every week to try to bolster their opinion. I'm just joking, I'm calling it that, but I love it. The material and does Hashem have needs? Can we understand the notion that Hashem would have a need? So you know what his need was? He wanted to give good. He wanted to do good.
Manis Friedman says many times that God needs us, and he's in many videos, it's like we could call it his like go-to saying. It's a big idea that he wants to emphasize a lot. We want to understand what's his motivation. First of all, is he correct? Is he allowed to say such a thing? And even if it's a kosher idea, is it an idea that we should emphasize so much and turn into one of the Ikrei Emunah?
I don't know if you realize this, but you've created a commotion online because you said a few simple words. 3 words. God needs us.
More than we need him. The message that God needs us more than we need him, I think that's what separates Judaism from the rest of philosophy, religion, Narishkeit, business. That's what the Torah is trying to tell you.
Why? How do you see that?
Vayedet Hashem al Har Sinai. God came down to talk to you.
Where is your proof? Give me proof here.
The proof
You're making a very big statement here.
Yes.
Okay.
The proof is that he initiates everything.
To help us,
the world.
Show us what to do, in order for us to learn what to do.
Why does he need to teach us what to do? We are serving him because his need is more real than ours. So why should you be mavatal your ratzon for his ratzon? Because his ratzon is more intense, more real, more necessary than mine.
So you're saying that you're doing God a favor when you serve him, basically.
Absolutely.
It's a big line, you know that, right?
Yes. And without...
Rabbi Friedman, being Mechadesh, we're coming up with this completely original thing. Nobody says, well, let me tell you, you're doing God a favor when you serve him. He's not helping.
Once you get this idea, you find it everywhere. Everywhere. It's a very strange thing that I have to defend the Torah to the rabbis or to anybody. So let's understand exactly what we're dealing with here. There is the Creator who always was and always will be, eternal, all-powerful, infinite, Ein Sof, etc., etc. Then there's creation. What is the connection between them? The Creator really shouldn't create. Hashem, God, should be independent, perfect in himself, and there should be no creation. So the ultimate question, the first question is, what's a creation? Where did that come from? The answer is that there is Creator and there is creation. Where does Torah fit in? Is Torah part of creation or is Torah part of Creator? In other words, what do we believe about the Torah? So here's a good way to put it, Erev Pesach. The Torah says that we should eat matzah to remember the coming out of Mitzrayim. When did the mitzvah of eating matzah come into existence? After we came out of Mitzrayim? In other words, an event in creation, in the world, created this mitzvah. So the Eibishter is reacting to an event and made up a mitzvah in response. So he never really wanted you to eat matzah, but after Yetzias Mitzrayim happened, and he wants you to remember coming out of Mitzrayim, so he made a mitzvah to remember it. In other words, the mitzvah not only doesn't precede creation, it's a product of creation. It's a tulda. It's not even creation, it's lower than creation. That's horrible, wrong, and ridiculous. Torah is Torah's emes, the blueprint of creation, not the product of creation. Which means the Eibishter wants us to eat matzah. That's why there was Yetzias Mitzrayim. And that's why there was the botzeg that didn't rise. In other words, what happens in the world comes from Torah. Torah does not come from the world. Anybody disagree with that? Not possible. Not because of Exedas HaKosuf, not because it says in Torah, but because it doesn't make sense. The Torah is not a product of creation. The Torah is a product of the Creator. It is Him, not something He created. And that's what the Zohar means, Reisa v'kutshabrecha kol echad. You got to start with that. Not because it's Kabbalah, not because we're mystical, and not because it's simply the most sensible, the most logical, and the most real approach. There is the Eibishter. There is no creation. Nothing exists. Nothing exists. Okay, now what happened? There is nothing. Ein oid milvade. There is nothing. But he wants to do you a favor, so he... What? What are you jumping? What are you skipping? There is no favor. There's no one to do a favor. There is no chesed. There is no kindness. There is nothing. There's just him. Okay, what happened? And that's why don't bring me a pasuk and don't bring me a Maimer Chazal. We're talking about the Eibishter before there's a Chazal and before there's a pasuk. So is the Eibishter real because it says on Torah that he's real? That is not Emunah at all. So it's a very fundamental mistake that people are making. And it's tragic because our relationship with the Eibishter has become shallow, meaningless. So I'm not even going to defend the idea that the mitzvahs are him, not a creation that he made up at some point within time, within space, within creation. The mitzvah it has to be him because there was only him. So let's ask a very simple question. Was there a time, a level, a madrega, where the Eibishter did not want us to eat matzah? Was there any significance and purpose in Avram Avinu eating matzah on Pesach before there was a Yetzias Mitzrayim? Even Lot ate matzah on Pesach because they knew that there would someday be a mitzvah. What is that? You're making fun of the Torah? It's all a little product, a little game, a little trick. Does it say anywhere, does anyone of any authority say that the Eibishter doesn't need a mitzvah? There's no such statement. Wherever it says the Eibishter doesn't need us is not his mitzvahs. So let's be clear and let's make sense when we talk. Does the Eibishter need us? What do you mean by that? Does he need us to what? Explain your question. Does the Eibishter need mitzvahs? What kind of question is that? But where's the debate? What's the issue? The question that's being created is, are the mitzvahs real or were they made up as part of creation? Who asks a question like that? A Maimon? So, of course, the mitzvahs are real. The question is only, where do we fit in? The mitzvahs are his mitzvahs. He needs matzah. Why am I eating matzah? Do I need it? Now that's a good question. Whether he needs it, it's his mitzvah. And it existed before there was a creation, including the creation of love and kindness and chesed and malchus. And before there was anything, there was already the mitzvah. So, did the Eibishter make up the mitzvah at some point, and now that he made it up, he's stuck with it? Chas v'shalom to even think like that. The mitzvah was not made up. It was not created out of nothing. That's Gashmis is created out of nothing. Not Torah. Torah is eternal. Torah always was, always will be. And that's what it means, so it may be wrong to say that the Eibishter needs the mitzvah, but it's so much more wrong to say that he doesn't. He doesn't need the mitzvah? Then what is a mitzvah? It's a tragic matzav that people have fallen into. And where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Why this enjoyment? Why the pleasure of thinking he doesn't need? What's everybody so happy about? It's it's better if he doesn't need a mitzvah. So he doesn't need the mitzvah, but we should literally give our lives over and over for thousands of years to die for the mitzvah which he does not need. Making fun of everything. You're making a joke of the Eibishter, you're making a joke of the Torah, you're making a joke of Yidden. We've been fooled. We've been dying for nothing. So you might say, well, no, not for nothing. You'll go to Gan Eden. So now even Mesiras Nefesh is selfish? So even when I give up my life, it's only for a reward? When we are told that we're not supposed to do any mitzvah for the reward? So, I don't understand why I'm defending this.